President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States. At real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Now America is once again at a moment of reckoning.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. We will make America great again. This country. It's payback time. We're going to take our country back from these people.
He will never be president. I will move to Spain or somewhere.
We're going to win at so many levels. We're going to win, win, win. We will make America great again. I love you.
Mr. President-elect.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, folks, that was a minute and a half you'll never get back.
Go Raiders! Hey, in case you missed it this week, I don't know how you would have with all of the bragging I've been doing. Texas Tech made it to the Final Four. Yeah, baby, for the first time in the history of our university. So all I have to say is, go Raiders and welcome Tech. We are fixing to kick some major bahookie this evening. In fact, as we air this, I will be on the edge of my seat because Tech will be playing. And I am sure we are on our way to winning the whole thing. So take that, put it in your hat and smoke it.
Well,
or I guess you would put it in your pipe and smoke it, not your hat. Sorry, I get so excited. I haven't been able to think of anything else all week besides, of course, my wonderful POTUS, who is still in need of a Doc Martens hug, as we all know. But We did have some other wonderful winning this week. And if little birdie told me right, I think we may have even gotten some national exposure this week, Phil, for our MAGA Promises Kept show. I think somebody may be watching it, may be seeing that Doc Martin needs to come up there to Washington and hug him till his eyeballs pop out of his head. That's the only way he's ever going to know that we truly love him, of course, as you know. I have started out. My daughter did point out to me this morning, she said, Mama, what would you do if POTUS did ever see your show? I said, I'd faint, number one. Number two, I'd be going, hurry, come get me before it's too late to hug you so you'll know that the whole nation supports you, including the Red Raiders. Just saying.
Well, before we get started,
how are you?
I'm going to start the show on a sour note. Ready? I'm going to play a video for us, and then we can get on to winning. But this video is important.
This is just showing us why we do what we do. So it's just a temporary little dill pickle before we get started celebrating our POTUS's wins.
We're going to show you why you should be on our side, and on the side of the president, on the side of America, and on the side of winning. Here we go.
A few years ago, ideas that we talked about were thought to be fringe ideas, radical ideas, extremist ideas. Those ideas are now mainstream.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
What's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women?
One way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy, so please bring on the recession.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
And think about it, folks. This is still going on. We're still on Russia. We're still on all this crazy insanity. So that's why we're doing the show, because there is a lot of good news that is not being reported. And in case you didn't notice, our show background is a little different this week. We have the White House in blue, the President and the First Lady trying to help out the autism community here with a blue White House. Very nice. So a little different background for you, and we're going to get into a little bit of that.
Serves all Americans. He doesn't serve the special interests like the other candidates and like the other presidents. He works for every American. It doesn't matter whether they have disabilities or not. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter anything. He serves every American. And this just shows it again. So I think we need to make an ad out of that first little segment we showed. Because, honey, anybody that hears those left-wing libtards just shoves them our way. Just shoves them right our way. So I say let's make an ad out of it and play it every day for the American people. And then show this one where he loves every American no matter what. And it shows such a stark contrast. So I say show it.
Well, that video, Doc, is actually in GOP on the YouTube site for the GOP, but I haven't really seen it before. Maybe we saw it once or twice last year, but out there on Twitter land. But it should be on the airwaves every day, because this is what we've been going through every day for almost 2.5 years, right? Between the collusion, delusion.
Actually, it's been a lot longer than that. Yeah. It's just, this is worsened since he became president, but they were off the rockers way before he ever became president. So again, I say let it roll, honey, because it should bring more people to our side.
Well, Doc, I got a surprise for you. On that YouTube page for the GOP is also a playlist called MAGA Promises, Promises Kept. So I think he's watching you. I think
They
maybe
must
he
be
wants his
watching
hug.
us. They probably stole that idea from us. I mean, what are they thinking? But you know what? That's okay, because maybe it'll bring attention, POTUS's attention to it. And he may drop in our little show sometime where he can see that he needs Doc Martin to hug him till his eyeballs pop out of his head. Just saying.
I'll take Ivanka. That's okay. You can.
You can have her. You can have her. She's not too hard on the eyes. I'm just saying.
Well,
you can have her, but I'm gonna take POTUS.
Our first subject today is the president's tweet regarding autism. So let me move this over into our screen, and there you are. World Autism Awareness Day 2019. Significance, history, and theme via, and then he provides a link to an autism awareness website, which is, I think, a big deal, especially with the New York State. I live in New York State, unfortunately.
Anytime you have the president to focus the press on a special sector of our society, so I think it's a huge win. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Phil.
That's okay. I was going to bring up New York State with the abortion up to birth. We're basically taking children with autism and on the autism spectrum, which a lot of people don't realize. The autism spectrum is huge. There are a lot of disabilities that are put on that spectrum. My son, for instance, has Fragile X syndrome. He's on the autism spectrum. He's the sweetest, happiest go lucky kid you ever meet in your life. He wants very little. He's smart, he's intelligent, but he has a learning disability, high anxiety. It's a rare disorder, but a lot of children get put on that spectrum. So we're just taking these kids in New York State and saying we're throwing them away. It's the Margaret Sanger philosophy of abortion. Just, oh, my kid's defective, don't want it. So, it's like throwing away a pair of shoes that you don't like anymore. Even though they're brand new, I just don't like them, I throw them away. So, it's important. We're throwing away the
Have you noticed that anytime there's anybody unwanted, whether it be a baby or a less than perfect human being, or maybe an elderly person, that if they don't care for them, they just want to kill it? So, our party stands for life, like we were talking about last week. Our party stands for life, and our POTUS stands with us. He stands for every American, every life, just like he did this week also. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later with the new First Step Act that he brought attention to and signed this week. He doesn't want to leave anybody behind, whether it be a baby, an old person, a special needs child, or someone who's paid their debt to society and is trying to restart their lives. He stands for each and every one of them. And again, I think that shows winning on a grand scale, because it's something, what family in America has not been affected by one of those sectors? Who? If your family hasn't been, then you've got a good friend who is. So, again, he stands on the right side of history. He stands on the side of life. That makes me just all that much more proud to stand by him. And notice I'm not standing behind him. I'm standing beside him, because, he cannot win this fight alone. And it takes every one of us, everybody in our movement, everybody that gets up and fights every day. Because somebody pointed this out this week, and I thought it was a very great point. In that we're a movement. We stand hand in hand. We don't stand behind each other, because we're an unbreakable force if we all gather hands and stand together. And POTUS is leading our group. So, yay! Yippee skippy!
Well, we have a proclamation from the president, too, regarding World Autism Day. I just brought it up on the screen, and I'm going to read the first paragraph. It's about 5 paragraphs long, but on World Autism Day, we honor the millions of Americans living with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, who, in spite of the challenges they may face, continue continue to make extraordinary contributions to their families, their communities, our nation, and the world. And that's true. You know, I can't imagine living one day without my son. He's a card. He's hilarious. He's funny. He just likes to have fun. We also express our sincere appreciation to the families, friends. That's right. Medical professionals and caregivers who help Americans with ASD pursue the American dream. So, you know, all the talk and rhetoric that the POTUS doesn't really care about anybody but white people, which is absolutely insane, hasn't really paid attention to anything but what the mainstream media and the Democrats tell you. So, this is huge. I'm proud of it, and it's a personal thing for me. So, you know, I got to do the thing where you go, but that's okay. Well, every year we do the autism walk, and every year we
wonderful.
Contribute. So, and wow, the kids there, that they're just wonderful. They're great. You know, it's fun to be there. We enjoy it. There's a whole carnival festival, and we've participated for 7 years now. I think I'm looking up at the certificates that we get every year. So it's great. We great community people. So if you're out there there's autism walks all over the country, please participate and help. Every little bit helps. We know. So we gotta get to a lighter note here, Doc, before I getting a little too emotional here.
I think that is a lot, Note. I think that as a society, everybody becoming or coming in behind the families that face this every day. I think that is a lot, Note. I think it's something to be celebrated. I think his life is something to be celebrated. There's 3 things in the Bible that the Lord blessings. One of those is children. And it doesn't say when they're perfect, or only when they're wanted, or only when they have a certain IQ or no special needs. Do they count? He says they all count. All life counts. And you know, again, we won again this week when Georgia passed the heartbeat bill. And the little gal that, I can't remember her name, but I should have brought up the video, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to this week because I'm a working mama. But the little gal that was the former Planned Parenthood operations manager that has really stood up against abortion, against the Planned Parenthood, and she went and testified, and I am telling you, we've got to cover it in the next weeks because she slayed them. She put it all out there. She told them exactly what's going on, exactly how they do it, put the spotlight on the depths of depravity that Planned Parenthood goes to ensure their doctrine of death. So we've just got winning on every front, whether it be for the fragile life that is being developed and then born, or whether it be a special needs child that you know, has not had all the support from our society that we could give them, or whether it be a person, again, like I said, that has served their debt to society. If we put as much effort into helping all of those, we all raise, just like that boat that in Noah's Ark, you know, we all raise together. So we're not going to leave anybody behind. And our wonderful POTUS is leading the charge, and I'm just thrilled again as usual.
And unfortunately, we're still on the subject, folks, but we got a little video here, the only one I could find, but it has a nice clip of our lovely FLOTUS in it, so we're going to roll that now. Ready, Doc?
We love our FLOTUS. Yes, always for our FLOTUS.
That's right.
The First Lady shared a photograph of her home lit blue in support of World Autism Day. The White House called on Americans to learn about the signs of autism to improve early diagnosis. They said, "On World Autism Awareness Day, we honor the millions of Americans living with autism spectrum disorder, who, in spite of the challenges they may face, continue to make extraordinary contributions to their families, their communities, our nation, and the world. We also express our sincere appreciation to the families, friends, medical professionals, and caregivers who help Americans with autism spectrum disorder pursue the American dream. As a nation, we must continue to support Americans with autism spectrum disorder. My administration has worked to fund cutting-edge research, optimize health systems, and enhance available resources and treatments that will benefit people with autism spectrum disorder. Ongoing federal research efforts to understand the health and development of children with autism spectrum disorder have recently expanded to include adolescents and young adults, thereby advancing our knowledge of autism spectrum disorder beyond childhood. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer told Los Angeles Times the president is keeping a promise to the late wife of his friend Bob Wright that he would illuminate the White House in blue if he won the election. Mr. Wright and his wife, Suzanne, founded the group Autism Speaks in 2005, which uses the color blue in its logo. Mrs. Wright later died in 2016. Mr. Spicer said it's in honor of the Wrights that the White House is helping draw attention to a great cause. World Autism Awareness Day is internationally recognized on April 2 by members of the United Nations. This year, a challenge to sit up for autism went viral online. The public tried to do 11 sit-ups. For every 11 minutes another family hears the words, "Your child has autism." People from across the world participated.
That was a nice little short video. I'm sorry about the robotic voice, but that's the only video that was positive I could find out there on YouTube. So,
well, it just highlights again our wonderful POTUS and FLOTUS standing for the people that can't stand up for themselves and delivering on promises kept. So if you're wondering if anything's happening out there, guys, we're ticking them away every week. Everything he's doing, he's meeting every promise, he's meeting every expectation and going above them. We've just got to recognize it because the mainstream media doesn't. And I just couldn't be prouder for him recognizing them. And also the First Step Act. I thought that was wonderful. Did we have some video on that as well? Because
yes,
I was so tickled when he brought all those people up there. And if you notice in the video, if we have it ready,
yep.
He says that he likes to bring everybody up there when they don't realize that they're going to be speaking because it's authentic, which is another reason why we love him, is because he is authentic. And just like we are hoping our passion carries us each week as we do the show, his authenticity carries him greatly with the American people because he backs up his words. He puts his money where his mouth is. So do we have a video of that, Phil? I believe we do, don't
it's we? About a minute and a half long, so ready to go? Here we go.
Let it roll.
Working together with my administration over the last 2 years, these members have reached a bipartisan agreement on prison reform legislation known as the First Step.
And because of that, I'll be able to spend what time she has left with her. She was diagnosed with brain cancer in September, and they have since gave her a grave prognosis. And because of the bill and the First Step Act, I'll be able to spend the rest of her time with her. And I thank you.
Thank you, sweetie.
2 months ago, I was in a prison cell, and I'm in the White House. That's continue to make America great again.
Well, how do you like that? Promises made, promises kept. At the end, that's what it says. I love
it. I'm just saying, you know what? Even if it didn't help anybody else, that one woman getting to spend the last time with her daughter, I mean, that is more precious than gold. And the man coming up there saying, one day in jail and the next day in the White House. Well, honey, I might be one day in the poorhouse at the Martin House and one day at the White House. So, you know, yay. I'm excited. I'm just ready for to see what they do with themselves. I think it's going to be so exciting. And the little lady that he brought up at the end that he had gotten out, remember her? Oh my gosh, talk about turn on the tears. I just can't love him more.
And that's why we're doing the show, because I don't think that's really even brought up on the mainstream media, is it? All we hear about are the alternate.